live this morning, and I didn't know why, and I didn't really have a topic. I know that I woke up this morning and I was slightly annoyed, and I don't know why, because I had a great day yesterday that was relaxing, and it was just really relaxing, and I took some time to relax. So I was like, okay, what am I going to talk about? Because if I just start talking, I'm just going to start rambling about random things, and I am trying to narrow down my audience on YouTube. But here's the thing. Part of my going in on YouTube and experimenting with YouTube, I say experimenting because it's new to me, is because I have clients. Like, it's very odd watching people talk about making money online, being influencers and things of that nature or whatever, right? Yet many don't realize what it takes to actually be a digital nomad who is able to have consistent income. And when I say consistent income, I mean income that you know is coming in every month, and you're not chasing contracts, you're not doing net 30s, any of those things or whatever, right? So in order to assist clients and people in their growth and their online presence and things of that nature, we're in constant state of like learning and research and trying to keep up with technology, and technology moves so much faster than it did when I got into this years ago. And because I haven't played on YouTube in forever, there are so many different features, and I'm like, yo, what is this? So let me push this button and see what happens. And it's like, I'm looking at icons right now, and funny icons. Okay, that's going to be the second word for the day. I'm looking at icons right now, and I'm like, what do those things do? But I am that person that's like, I'm going to go ahead and push this button. So, icons. One of the things that happened this morning was that I woke up thinking about my grandmother, and I was thinking, I don't know. I mean, I do know why people are shocked and surprised to find out that I moved to Brazil without a support system, and this is my first international trip, but they don't understand the people that I came from, right? Not only, so I've been doing a lot of research on my mother's side of the family, my mother's father's side of our family tree. Very well-known people. It has been easy to research for the researchers in the family because so much of what they've done has been documented. My mother's side of the family, not so simple, because my grandmother, who's no longer alive, who's transitioned, and my great aunt, who is still alive, my grandmother's younger sister, they didn't really like to talk about their side of the family. So we don't know much about their side of the family. Hi, I don't see a name, but I'm going to get to this because I have to put my glasses on. But this is all a part of the talk. Aging, I'll be 52 this year, right? And so part of what I want to talk about today is being my age, moving around, being a digital nomad, being an older Black woman in technology in this day and age, and what that means. And honesty, integrity, and truth and transparency. I'm going to try to cover all those things, but let me just give you the backstory and what I woke up with thinking about this morning. So I was thinking about my grandmother, and I was like, yeah, I don't know why people are surprised, because if they had an understanding about like who my people are and where I come from, they wouldn't be surprised. And one of the things that I was thinking about my grandmother, who was very sassy, is when after she transitioned, we opened up her nightstand, and in her nightstand, we found things that an older woman would have, right? Like Bengay and things of that nature or whatever. But also in her nightstand was a pistol and a vibrator. And I laugh about that moment because I'm just like having so many questions, like, where did she buy a vibrator? Because they were in a small town. That's a whole different story. But this also ties into what I do as a digital nomad. So get your coffee. I have my coffee. So stay with me if you're interested in this story or whatever, right? So let me just tell you what I do as a digital nomad currently with my current client. because this may interest some, because I think this is the part that pisses me off that a lot of people don't talk about, and where their income actually comes from. And so few people are actually transparent about where their money actually fucking comes from. So many people claim to be digital nomads, and when they're not really actually fucking digital nomads. What they are people who are quote unquote so-called wannabe influencers on the internet, who get money from a side job that they don't tell anybody about, or they get money from a spouse, social security, military benefits, child support, all these different ways. Now, then there are also people who earn a living as digital nomads and genuinely make money exclusively as a digital nomad, but very few share how difficult that can be and how stressful that it can be unless you have a system in place where you know that money is coming from. So, backstory for me. I've been a legitimate digital nomad for many years, over 20 years. My very first client was completely opposite than, like, you can't get two opposite long-term clients that I've had. The one that I initially had in the past that was like for 15 years, and the one that I currently have now. My first digital client, I landed walking up and down the streets of New Haven, Connecticut, and landed a nonprofit organization. They weren't a nonprofit at the time. I'm going to get into that story a little bit more later on, but built a website for them, ended up doing a contract, and worked with them as an independent contractor for 15 something years or whatever, right? But here's the trick. I had clients, other clients. I was giving workshops, teaching tech, all those things during that time. What was the game changer for me? And every time I tell someone this, when I'm coaching someone who is trying to get into the digital space or figure out how to have reoccurring income, is retainers. If anyone from Tribe is watching me, and I've talked about retainers forever. Retainer. Because so many people are like, oh, but I thought only attorneys have retainers. And it's like, no. And this is the problem. Most people don't think outside the box. Like, people's mindset is so conditioned, and I blame traditional education for this. And this is probably a reason why a lot of people can't figure out how to earn a living, is because you're so trained to think a certain way. This is one of the reasons that I'm not a fan of STEM programs, especially for kids of color, because it still forces people to think a certain way within this structured system, so that when it comes time to times like this, where many people want to leave whatever country they're in and go somewhere else, whether it's as an individual or move your family, they can't figure out how to make money because they think within the confines of the education system that has indoctrinated them for the last 12 years, at a minimum of the last 12 years of their life or whatever, right? So when I was just kind of getting into the tech thing, I don't do well with discipline. I don't do well with structure. I don't do well with any of those things. I didn't like chasing contracts. I was traveling around the United States at that time, and I was, couch surfing was a thing back then. I don't mean like couch surfing was an actual thing. It still is a thing, but it's changed a lot, but whatever. So someone would hire me to do a website or something like that for them or whatever, right? And typically what happens is when someone hires you to build a website or manage their social media or something like that, is they'll pay you a small portion up front, and then once you've completed that project, they'll pay you at the end. So it'll be like either 3 parts, or, in the beginning and the end, or the beginning, middle, or end, or whatever, right? I was like, yeah, that doesn't work for me because I'm not good with budgeting or whatever. And then I would find myself being stuck in random cities until I finished the project. And then I would have to sit around and wait for them to decide to pay me. But also what would happen is, especially if you're good at what you do, right? So you would start working on something, and if you're working on something for a client, you typically will start to notice where something is missing or they need something in addition to the thing that they hired you for. If you're good and if you're efficient and if you're ethical, you will tell the clients or client, hey, I noticed when I was working on this, that you have a hole over here that you could probably fill, and this is something else that you should probably do. So whoever you hire next, blah, 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 blah. And you offer suggestions. And so then what ends up happening is they'll ask you to do it, or something will come up, they'll have an event or whatever it may be in the midst of you working on a project that's already in an established contract. And so either, unless you have really strong boundaries, which you typically don't if you're just starting out, because you're happy to have a client, you're happy to get the work done. And a lot of times you'll say yes when you should probably be saying no. You'll find yourself doing more work than you actually get paid for, but you need the money. And then later on, you kick yourself because you realize you didn't charge enough, or you realize that you did more work than you probably should have, even though you're learning something in the process or whatever, right? So after doing this for so many years, and then really, a lot of times I find that people, because being a digital nomad or an influencer is such like an idolized thing right now, a lot of people, or being a content creator or being a content manager or whatever, even if you're working on the back end side and no one ever sees you and you're doing this stuff for a company. So someone may be hired as an independent contractor or whatever. And so even for me, if I try to hire a virtual assistant or a content manager or whatever, people ask for this ridiculous amount of fucking money. And I'm like, yo, you're wet behind the fucking ears. Like, I can run circles around you. And like, I don't even charge what you're asking or whatever, right? And they can't figure out why they can't make a living on it, because they think that just because they can like manage a YouTube channel or edit a video, that they need to be charging somebody $20 or $50 or whatever an hour. And I'm like, that ain't gonna happen, because there's so many little different things that people think they know that they don't even realize that they are shortchanging themselves and their clients. Here's an example. There's so many people who talk about being in tech yet don't know what stats are, right? Like, they don't know how to set up a system where you monitor and can manage where traffic and visits are coming from on to a person's website, whether it's your personal website or whether it's a client's website. So for example, if I set up a website and I'm doing a launch and I'm doing a soft launch or whatever, and just depending on how important it is to me, I may set up a stat counter that tells me exactly who is coming to the website, what device they're coming to the website on, whether it's mobile, whether it's a desktop, whether it's an Android or whether it's a Mac, what country, what time they came, how long they stayed, what pages they went to, what actions they took on the website. All of those things matter when you are trying to test something, whether it's for yourself or whether it's for a client. And sometimes you do it because you got to handle some things or whatever, right? Many people don't know this. Many people who are offering services to clients don't know this. People that are in SEO typically know this, but just general people who say that I'm doing this are not aware about all these other technical things. That becomes important because it increases the likelihood that you're able to sell a package in a retainer, as a retainer, to a client, which means you know that every month you are going to get paid for services that you offer to someone based on the an agreed upon list of things for a block amount of hours or not. Most digital nomads or people in tech or people who call themselves influencers don't do this. They're chasing clients every single month, or not even or. And because they're chasing clients every single month, they are typically not saying, they're not being truthful about certain things. Let's just put it that way. Okay, right? Either what they talk about is very surface and watered down because they don't want to ruffle any feathers. They don't want to jeopardize the opportunities that might come their way because they don't want to be too radical. They don't want to be too whatever, too conservative, too radical, too truthful, too transparent. Because if you have a brand or a client that you're trying to land, they're not going to always take risks with people like myself who's just going to say whatever the fuck it is that I want to say. I am lucky in that I'm able to say that given the nature of the client that I have right now, right? So right now, I am a digital nomad in the country of Brazil as someone who helps a store, a retail brick and mortar store, who also has an online website, an online presence, which is an adult toy store. You can't, like, there's nothing that I really can say that's going to, I don't get into politics, so that's not a concern or whatever, right? So my language, my tone, the things that I talk about is not like a shocker to them. And I don't have to be conservative and be someone that I'm not online that doesn't reflect and is not true to who I am offline and online. Who you see right now online is the same person that I am offline. So I don't have to censor myself or whatever, right? That's not the case for most people. So what happens is when someone's watching, or you have an audience or whatever, you, the viewer, and you're watching these so-called influencers, or you're watching these so-called people who are telling people how to earn money and get offline, you have to keep in mind that a lot of what they're saying is fuck shit. It's surface level, because either they don't want to get thrown out of the country by saying something that's going to piss somebody off, no matter what country that they're in. So there's that. Two, they don't want to risk the chance of upsetting the brands that are sponsoring them. Three, they don't want to, I don't know, I guess is disenfranchise the audience that they've built so far or whatever, right? Like, propaganda exists around us all the time. If you don't know me, I have been speaking my truth that has gotten me in trouble quite a bit. But again, this goes back to, you have to understand who my people are and where I come from. Back to my grandmother, thinking about her this morning, and I was just like, yeah, finding a pistol and a vibrator in her nightstand after she transitioned was just icing on the cake. And then on her funeral, there's a story where someone, you know how people get up and they speak about the person who transitioned or whatever. One of the guys stood up and was telling the story, like, my grandmother, she was hardcore, she loved hard, but she disciplined hard also. It didn't matter. So if someone needed assistance and they came in, she's going to let you know, these are what the rules are. So if someone, let's say they're getting off of drugs or they're alcohol and they're trying to rebuild their life, she's going to house you, she's going to feed you, but she's going to set down the boundaries before you come in. You're not coming in with some fuck shit or whatever, right? And most people will act right to get into a place and get settled. But then that's usually just a facade until they start acting up again. She didn't tolerate that shit. She nipped it in the bud. So he's telling this story about he needed her assistance or whatever. He got there, got too comfortable, started acting up, and she was like, nope, you gotta go. And so when, I guess he said something smart and tried to run out the door, and she threw a knife. She threw a knife at him and it missed him. And she was saying, and he was telling the story about how it missed him, but when it hit the door like on the cartoon where the knife vibrates back and forth. And this is the story that he's telling at the funeral about my grandmother. It's not a shocker because everybody knew my people. They don't play that shit. So when people are like, oh, well, Courtney's hard and Courtney is this and Courtney, I'm like, you obviously don't know my people. That's on my mother's side, my mother's side. My grandfather's side of the family is even more legendary or whatever. My great grandmother was a businesswoman. She was a madame at some point in her life or whatever. So the trajectory of my life, my mouth, my temper, my lack of patience for bullshit, my lack of patience for people that have no moral standards, no integrity, who are not transparent, who talk in circles, who are not efficient, who act one way and, behind closed doors or at church, and then another way in front of, people have these masks that they wear for certain people around at certain, I don't resonate with that. I don't speak that language. I don't put up with that. People can do it, but they don't. Now, here's the thing. So when I moved into this condo, prior to moving into this condo, I was somewhere else and I was just like, I didn't pack anything to move to Brazil. I mean, other than like a suitcase and a carry-on, clothes. I didn't bring any of my technology. I didn't bring any of my equipment other than like my laptop, my phones, and things of that nature. But like my stands, my lighting, I left everything behind. Furniture, the whole bit. And even like my little playing cards and my woo-woo stuff or whatever, which does not include crystals or anything. And so I had missed just having playing cards because I keep playing cards. So I was like, oh, I don't even know where to buy playing cards here. And I was like, I just miss shuffling playing cards. So when I moved into this condo, sitting on the shelf was a deck of playing cards. And I was like, yo, thank you, universe. Thank you, ancestors, for showing up and having some playing cards. So what I typically do with playing cards is I may just like write little messages and words on them or whatever, and then shuffle them and pull them and things like that. So today when I got the message, when I was like, oh, you need to go live, I was like, what am I going to talk about? So I shuffled some cards and I pulled a card. And the card that I pulled today was about transparency. I was like, bet, I can talk about that because I had been sitting with that and I was annoyed with that for the last few days anyway, or whatever, right? Lack of transparency. People, I feel like, now I'm specifically talking to, I would say, Black people, African Americans, Black women specifically. I stay off of Facebook and social media a lot because it annoys me, because to me it feels like there's a level of apathy that's very dangerous that's happening with people right now, right? I have a saying, I say that I'm blissfully neutral. Neutral does not mean apathetic. One of the last things that my mom said to me when I left was that if someone is commenting and saying something that I need to see, I can't see it. It kind of just pops up and disappears. But if someone's commenting, I noticed on my live, the last time I went live, is that the comments disappeared because like someone was saying something negative. I think that's another reason that people stay off the internet also, because you get fucking trolls who are fucking cowards who just don't have anything else better to do during the fucking day except troll people's live videos and make comments and behind, you know, like some fake ass fucking profiles or whatever. Listen, I don't really give a fuck about y'all, but to those of you who are afraid to go online because you're worried about trolls and people saying something negative about you and all those things, you're gonna have to get over it. Like, there's always gonna be somebody that has something to say. There has always been someone that has something to say. I am not 100% confident about anything that I do. I'm not confident about my looks. I'm not confident about the work that I do. I operate in doubt. But I'm also very transparent about the things that I have doubt about, and I'm transparent about the things that I'm insecure about. Which brings me back to this morning. So I opened up my New Times app, and one of the features that they were talking about in the New York Times was how there's a trend in fashion where there's like a lot more older women. And I'll have to find it later because when I tried to open it right now, I couldn't see it. And I was like, that's very interesting. And they were saying though, how in fashion, 30 is older when it comes to high fashion and models and things of that nature. But I guess Vogue or whatever, I don't keep up with that stuff. But they were just saying, I guess they did a fashion show and the women were like 50 and over. And I guess Vogue just had some recent people on their cover who were like 70 and over or whatever, right? Like I was saying, I'm 52. Being 52 and a single Black woman in this country, where my friend JC did a video the other day, I'll figure out how to tag it in. It was a great video because he talks about how in Brazil, what we would consider a 10 in the United States is a 5 here. True, he sums it up the best. Like, truer words can't be spoken. And I've lived in places where there are some absolutely gorgeous, beautiful people. But here, it's next level. But what people often don't talk about is it's not just an age, because when you're looking at all the beautiful people on social media and you're reading all the things about the beautiful people at the beaches and things of that nature about Brazil on social media, it's still very rare. And even though people talk about body positivity and things like that here, they still aren't showing people of like a wide age range. They'll show different body shapes, sizes, colors, all those different things. But it's still rare that they're showing people that are like 50 and over. Yes, a lot of people have a lot of work done here. But when you're just out and about with everyday people, local people, the women here, like the older women here with their gray or whatever, like there's like this refined sophistication about them that I can't say I've seen in other places, right? Like this confidence. But not only that, like their mobility is different than you would see in the United States. Yes, the United States is a very sedentary type of place. But then you have cities like New York where there's walkable, but there's still this different type of, I mean, it's very, no, I'm not going to say that. It's very similar to like when you see like older women in New York, right, with like a style, like the shades, the gray hair, the whatever. But here, being that it is a beach place, you still get that same type of confidence. And I wish people spoke about that a little bit more, which they don't. And one of the things that I love seeing here and I love observing here that a lot of people don't talk about, and I don't even think there's a, I don't know if there's a word for it, is the way that older women, and when I say older, I don't even mean necessarily like 50 and over or whatever, right? Is the way that an older woman dotes over the younger woman that's in her life, whether it's a granddaughter or whether it's a niece or whatever. But if you see like an older woman and a younger woman at the beach, you'll typically see them like adjust their swimsuits and things like that. Like there's this appreciation for youthfulness in a way. I don't know how best to describe it. The best way that I can liken it to is when I lived in East New York. There's a place that I used to go to and where I would get henna tattoos. And there was a Pakistani woman that would do my henna. She didn't speak any English. And the way that she would touch me or try to get my attention, and like one of the words, because I would be doing something else while she's doing my henna or whatever, right? And so when she would try to get my attention to like look at the thing or whatever, she would say, sis. And I remember the first time hearing her say sis, because that was in English. She didn't speak English, but she knew the word sis. And it was like, we identified with each other as like women of color, right? Like black and brown women, like sis. And I have East Indian friends, and there's this level of like intimacy that we don't have in the United States when it comes to women, when it comes to touching each other in a very intimate way, holding hands that's not sexualized or whatever, right? Locking arms when walking, and just touching each other, adjusting someone's hair or strap or bracelet or whatever. Like, it's very intimate. I don't see that with American women like I have seen it with women here, nor like I've seen it with my friends who are not from the United States. Like, you know, my East Indian friends, Pakistani friends, that kind of thing or whatever. I was going somewhere. I know I'm rambling because I'm just being obedient and I pulled the card that said transparency. So I'm talking about transparency or whatever, right? So one of the other things, let's talk about dating. And not even dating. Let's just talk about lovers here, right? And being an older woman and, you know, I don't want to use the term Latin lovers because Brazil is Latin, it's considered Latin, but I don't really feel like it's Latin in the sense of like Latin or whatever, right? So so one of the things that a lot of people don't talk about, you hear all the stories about the passport bros, negative or positive or whatever, they're being canceled, but that's none of my business because I don't really care. You see all the stories about men coming here and finding a beautiful Brazilian girlfriend, wife, lover, or just all the beautiful women. I have not yet seen anyone have a serious conversation about what it's like to be a woman, gringa, living in Brazil and having romantic suitors, lovers, people who want to court you or whatever. I have seen social media stories that talk about, women, gringas, immigrants, expats, talking about having their heart broken by Brazilian men. But let's just talk about what it's like and the attraction. So, young men, old men, men in between, it doesn't really matter. Tall, short, heavy, thin, it doesn't matter. They will approach you my pits are sweating. They will approach you very openly or whatever. Be it because they're looking at you as a potential sugar mama, whatever. It doesn't matter. None of that matters because no one ever really gets into the fact that Brazilian women, no matter, I think they're a little bit more refined in their game than Brazilian men. Let's just talk about that. Even if American or European or whatever men are believing that a Brazilian woman just randomly is in love with them and not looking at the potential of their pocketbook or whatever, let's just throw all of that out the window. Let's just talk about what it's like, right? I find it annoying. I'm going to tell you why I find it annoying. It's annoying because their game sucks. I have been joking since I've been here. I was like, yo, somebody can make a living, a very good living, by teaching Brazilian men how to engage with, I'm an American woman, so I can only speak as being an American woman. I can't talk about it from being another woman, so I'm just going to say as being a gringa. They need to teach them. Their shelf life would extend much longer if someone taught Brazilian men how to be better at their game. Like, they think their top level game is good game. Their top level, just like my friend JC compared, the levels of beauty here. I'm gonna compare, like, they would think their top level 10 of game is like a beginner's level 3 in the United States, especially if you spent your formative years in them streets. And when I say in them streets, I mean like nightclubs, strip clubs, specifically strip clubs. I was so frustrated one day. I was just like, God, I'm so frustrated with this because this would be so much more pleasurable if the game was actually good. So I decided I'm going to give a crash course on strip club game, right? Because I haven't seen any strip clubs. I don't know if there's like strip club nightlife here or whatever. Sex work is decriminalized here, so there's a little bit of different thing or whatever. But let's just talk about strip clubs. Strip club game, strip club life, culture. That's what I want to say. Strip club culture is a culture in itself. It is a mind game, less so than the physical part of it, right? So if I say strip club to someone here who is Brazilian, who has a concept of a strip club based off of what they've seen on television or social media, all they understand with that is the dancing, the music, the ladies on the poles, right? They don't understand all of the mind fuckery, not in a negative way, that comes along with that. What it's like behind the scenes, right? And so I was never a dancer, but I don't have the moves to be a dancer. Listen, but if I could do it all over again, I definitely would have spent some years being a dancer. But I had many friends who were dancers. I've had many friends who were strip club owners. I've had many friends who were nightclub owners. I have had many friends who were just in that nightlife, right? So you get an understanding of the game. And so when you have had that experience in your life, or you come from some people who were just like pimps and players, like I I'm not gonna even get into like my daddy's side of the family or whatever, right? Like you've pretty much seen, heard, experienced it all. So when you get here and someone is like trying to impress you with basic level shit, it gets annoying because there's something attractive about um when you're not like trying to like get into a serious relationship. There's something attractive about the game of dating and the back and forth. I don't mean the back and forth petty games, but I mean just like that intellectual banter, just like that whole kind of thing or whatever. Here it's just, it doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. Even if they speak English, like it just doesn't exist. They are very much more upfront, but not aggressive in the way that, like, I would say you might experience in the United States. One of the things, okay, if someone were to ask me if I feel safe here walking around as a woman, yes, in comparison to not feeling safe in New York in the summertime. And unless you have spent time in New York as a woman, you won't understand what I'm about to say. Catcalling. I didn't understand what catcalling was until I moved to New York. Was born and raised, grew up, did all of my little street running years in Arizona, in Atlanta. The occasional, hey, whatever, does not compare to what women experience in New York when it comes to catcalling. After being in New York a couple of summers, you just get to the point, like by August, you're just like, I'm not going outside because that shit is so annoying. It's so aggressive. It's so just absolutely annoying. And you just get to the point at the end of summer where I'm not going outside because you just don't want to have to deal with it. And then if you do say something, then they become very offended and aggressive. And if you're the kind of woman who is not one to just let someone talk to you crazy, then you find yourself not being yourself because you're worried about saying something to some man that's going to get offended because you reacted or you responded when he said you need to smile. Yes, in 2024, 26, 20, what, you still have men telling women, yo, ma, you should smile. And it's just like, oh my God. It's just like people still saying grown and sexy. I'm just like, yo, like, can we end this shit? And yes, I just said yo, but whatever. So it's not like that here. You don't get that aggressive, uncomfortable feeling walking down the street like you would in New York. So if you're a woman wondering what safety feels like, so for me, no, I don't feel that. I've never experienced it. You don't see men lose their fucking mind. You don't even see men pretty much turn twice. It could be the most beautiful. You see beautiful women all the time here, either fully dressed or half dressed. And when I say half dressed, I mean thong bikini, walking down the main, walkway or whatever, walking around, ass out, beautiful, glowing skin, beautiful hair or whatever. Men may not turn around and look twice. And I remember one summer I asked someone, I was like, why are men obsessed here in New York when they see women? Someone explained it to me perfectly. I wish I could remember who told me this. And they said, you have to keep in mind, it's cold here. So when fall hits and until winter, until everybody thaws out, everyone is covered. You don't see any skin. You don't see any skin for months. So then when people start to come back outside and start to strip off the coats, the scarves, the hats, the, sweaters, the long sleeves and the boots and the whole thing, it's like people see skin, they don't know what to do or whatever, right? And I was like, I never considered that because I grew up in a place that's fairly warm, like here, year round. And so seeing skin throughout the year is not like, oh my God, I don't know how to act, I don't know how to react. And because here, you see skin all day, sun up, sun down, 12 months out of a year, it's nothing. So a body is not sexualized like it is in the United States, especially in New York. That's something to consider. So with that being said, as a woman here, the assertiveness that you experience is not the same. So I just really want to make that clear when I say men will approach you and it's just like upfront, like what we doing, right? So let's just get to it or whatever. And then not speaking the language, like if you're looking for a serious relationship, I don't know what to tell you. That's a conversation I need to have. I think I'm gonna get my friend here and her and I are gonna talk about that. But I didn't come here looking for a serious relationship. I didn't come here looking for a lover. Have I stumbled upon? Yes. Has the experience been like, it's been interesting, and because there's a language barrier, so there's that. But it's also been interesting, and because there is the income issue, right? Because as an American, we have that privilege of earning our money. Our money goes further, right? And also there's the frustration in that even though our money goes further, they still don't have a concept of income differences, right? So everyone to them is just a rich American or a rich gringa. I'm not a rich American. I'm not a rich gringa. I'm nowhere near wealthy, right? Or affluent or whatever, right? In the United States. So what the amount of money that they think that I may be able to have is like, yeah, no, I'm not wealthy. Like that, it doesn't work that way or whatever, right? So you will find that people will ask you for money here. You will find that everyone that asks you for money won't just come out and ask you for money, right? So you'll hear like, oh, my mom is sick, my child is sick, my this or that is, it's like someone is either sick or you're about to have like you need to fill up your propane tank or something like that or whatever, right? Like those are the two. I would love to hear from other gringas. I don't know if you can hear that. So can you hear that? So every so often, there's like a wave of people that will come through the streets or whatever, and they are, hopefully you can hear it. So there's like a wave of people that have come through and they're like chanting something. And the best way that I can describe it is like, when you see the Haka warriors and they like that, like, oh, it's just it's an amazing feeling. It's great to watch, but when you hear it, because you'll hear it in the distance and then they'll get closer and closer and closer. I'm gonna have to ask my Brazilian friends like who they are and what it is or whatever. But just the feeling you get when you hear that is, if you've ever watched I think I'm saying it right, the New Zealander men, and they do the haka dance like they do it at the football games and things of that nature or whatever, ceremonies and things of that. It's like that. Anyway, what was I saying? Brazilian men and lovers. Oh yeah, so it's typically like they need money to refill their propane tank, and it's not just Brazilian men. It just happens, whatever. But these are typically the excuses. is someone sick and they need medicine or they need medical help or whatever, and or it's the propane tank or whatever, right? So I'm laughing because I've talked to typically American women who have dated Brazilian men, and it's all the same. And it's just like, can y'all come up with something else? How about you just ask me for the money? Like, just ask for the money and let me decide on whether or not I'm gonna give it to you, and then how much I'm gonna give it to you for, or whatever. And it's not to say that it's not true. Sometimes it is. I mean, and I'm saying this as with having evidence. Sometimes it's true, and then sometimes it's not true, or whatever. And they never just ask. They typically want to borrow it, and whether or not you're going to get the money back is going to be up to, it's a risk that you're going to have to take. But the fact of the matter is that it's the same story with each and every one of them. And you're just like, yo, can y'all come up with like some new game? I would rather, again, I'm an open and honest person, right? I would rather have someone approach me and say, listen, this is what it is, or whatever, right? Like, I'm truly interested in you as a lover. I am truly, genuinely attracted to you. However, you make way more money than I will ever touch in my lifetime. And you're new here. You want to go out. You want to see things. You want to learn the culture. You want to get to know people, so on and so forth. I will provide that for you. I will make sure that you're safe. I will introduce you to, you know, the local watering hole and things of that nature, and be upfront about the arrangement without going in circles. But here's also the other challenge, is that whole machismo type of thing or whatever, right? Like the idea of dating a woman who makes more money than you and having her pay for the date or whatever it is that you're doing still makes a lot of men, even in the United States, uncomfortable. But if you're an American gringa, I'm just talking to the women right now, and you are here earning US dollars, the reality is we're going to make more money than any Brazilian men that you're going, not any, than most Brazilian men that are going to approach you on the street. Doesn't mean that there isn't an attraction or whatever, but you're going to have to really think about navigating that type of dynamic and what that looks like or whatever, right? Like, just, it's a very frustrating thing, because if you're someone like me, I'm just like, I'm going to pay for an experience. I would rather pay for an experience and have someone be open and honest with me up front, as opposed to wasting my fucking time going in circles and being inconsistent and inconsiderate because you just can't come up and ask me for the money and then uphold your side of the bargain and doing what it is that you say that you're going to do with the money. Those dynamics get a little complicated. And like I said, sex work is decriminalized here or whatever. And so if just put the fucking money on the table and set the timer. Like, what are we doing? I don't have time for this. There's something else that I would rather be doing. Like, I don't want to hear all the excuses or whatever, right? So the game is pretty much annoying. So men, anyone that's, you know, if you're thinking about starting a business here and you have game, like if you have real true game or whatever, come and start a refinement school on how they need to, you know, up their game, because it will make it so much more fun and interesting. I know I've been all over the place with that, but these are the things that people, these are the things that many of us immigrants, expats, gringas and gringos talk about that people don't hear online. Even the ones who live online don't talk about these things, because I don't know why. And then, so I didn't have any expectations when I came to Brazil. People have expectations. Most people have expectations when they go someplace, right? And those expectations are usually just based off of things that they saw on the internet, social media. They heard from someone who went to visit for a couple of days or a couple of months. But again, everyone has different personalities. What someone may like, another person may not like. So just because you had a friend or a sister who came to Brazil and had a great time does not mean that you're going to come to Brazil and have a great time. Just because you had a friend or a cousin or whatever that came and hated it doesn't mean that you are going to hate it. We can't always rely on one person's experience to shape what our experience might be, because what they enjoy as food, what they find as what they need for comfort is going to be different than yours. Until you've established what good means between two people or having a conversation, you can't really rely on that as being a source of rely on it of being a source. And I know not everyone is as much of a risk taker as me or whatever, right? But I just think that the joy of travel and getting to know people has gotten lost in all of the planning, everything down to the minute, or having people hold your hand. And that's the biggest thing, and I'm going to close out. That is the biggest thing that pisses me off about people lying about how they make their money and how they have survived here. I'm someone that's never needed anyone to hold their hand in anything that I've ever done. I come from a line of people who don't need people and didn't need people to hold their hand to get something done. I come from a line of people who didn't wait for the government, the system, the organization, or whatever to save them or fix something. Those are my people. That's how I am. A lot of people don't come from people like that. A lot of people still sit around and you see a piece of paper on the fucking ground or whatever, you still are yelling at the government or the city about coming to pick the paper up or whatever, right? And yes, I have stories. One winter, I'm going to tell this story. One winter, I was living in Brooklyn, and there was this sidewalk, and I have video of this sidewalk of this actually happened. So in New York, when there's something that happens in the city or whatever, like most cities, you can call, the number 311 to come and ice or get the ice off the sidewalk. So in front of your home, in your house, you're responsible for clearing the ice and the snow from your sidewalk. But if it's like a city street or whatever, the city is responsible for, clearing the ice on the sidewalk. It was one of them long, cold summers where winters, where it wasn't just snow, it was a ton of ice. And it was the sidewalk that the older women would leave their brownstone and walk right along the train line to go to the grocery store or the laundromat. It was dangerous as fuck. And days, weeks went by, they wouldn't clear the sidewalk. Finally, I was just like, fuck it. Let me see dudes on the block. Let me try to get them. We can all go out here, break this ice up, clear the sidewalk so their grandmas would be okay, right? Couldn't get them fools to do it. They were not going to fucking help me. I found one that agreed to help if I paid him. I go buy the shovel, I go buy the pick, I go buy the salt, everything. He works maybe 15 minutes and he's like, man, this is stupid. Fuck this. I'm not going to do this. And I was like, dude, I just paid you. And I'm going to pay. I'm paying you. He's like, no, it ain't worth it. All right. It wasn't any amount of money that was going to get any of them to do that. They just weren't going to do it. So I got pissed. So I'm out there by myself. I'm picking the ice off the sidewalk, or whatever. And it was backbreaking. And then all of a sudden, I look up, the sun finally broke. The sun comes out. I look up and I was getting ready to go in the house. I had bought these shovels. I had shovels sitting along the fence, so if anybody wanted to come by and help, they could. Nobody. 3 kids, young men, are walking towards me or whatever. I could tell they were not from the neighborhood. They had on their little, religious, I'm not going to say the name, but they had on their little shirt and ties or whatever. And they were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just cleaning the sidewalk because the city hasn't come to clear the sidewalk and the older people can't get by." And they were like, "Well, we'll help you." The 4 of us, these 3 guys who weren't even from the neighborhood, cleared the sidewalk so that the elders could get to the grocery store and the laundromat. Every morning here, I watch an older man come out of his apartment, go down the steps, and picks up paper in front of his apartment, and just along that whole block in front of his apartment. Every single morning he does that. Every single morning he does that. Although he knows at some point the city guys are going to come by and sweep the streets, right? And sweep the sidewalk. But if he can do it, why wait? He may own the building, he may not own the building. But so many people are like, "Well, I'm not getting paid to do it," but complaining about the blight of their neighborhoods. And this doesn't matter what fucking country you're in. So many people sit around and wait for somebody else to do something for them. The same, if you're that type of person, I am not the person for you. If you are the type of person who is accustomed to waiting on someone else to do something for you, having someone hold your hand through every step process of travel or whatever, you can find people like that. But what's important, and I think to realize, is that you will find that some of the same people who had their hand held when they made the transition, not only to Brazil or other countries or even to another state, may then try to turn around and sell you the dream when they did not do that on their own and had their hand held. That becomes a problem, because if shit arises and you need to pivot on a dime and have someone that's able to think quickly on their feet without fucking spazzing out or having an anxiety attack, who are you working with, right? Because this is really truly the kind of place where you got to be able to think on your feet very quickly, unless you got a shit ton of money or whatever, and you're gonna walk that fine line. But that's one of the things that I really love about this place. When I got here, I called my mom, not immediately, after I had been here for some time or whatever, and I was like, "Yo, I love their ingenuity." I was like, their ingenuity is top fucking tier, because most Americans, listen y'all, you lack ingenuity. You're lacking in ingenuity and resilience. And here, ingenuity is top tier. Shit hit the fan, this is where I want to be. I want to be around a culture of people who got to figure some shit out and rig some shit. I'm not going to say what we say in black communities, but you got to Jimmy rig some shit or whatever, right? And you will find some shit Jimmy rigged here, and it's great until it's not great. But just the fact that you can think on your feet and rig some things until you can officially get it fixed or not is a very valuable thing to know how to do. Most Americans don't have that, unless you are some country folk. And just because your people are country, this is the other thing. I'll hear a lot of Americans say, "Oh, well, my family in whatever country, or my family in," just because your ancestors did it, don't mean that you can do it. Just because your relatives in some other place or rural town or whatever did it, don't mean that you can do it. Just because you knew what Harriet Tubman did, don't mean that you can do it or whatever. So when I got here, because I am queen of resilience and rigging some things or whatever, right? Yeah, I honor that about myself or whatever. And so I called my mom and I was just like, these are my people. These are my people. Because I can look at, there's been times in my life where I have just got a bright idea and I was like, I'm going to build this thing or whatever, right? I'm going to build this thing because why not? And I went to build it and it was a complete and total failure. I'm going to give you an example. When I moved to Connecticut, I had decided that I was going to build myself a bed frame. And I was going to build this bed frame using PVC pipe. So I go to Home Depot, and because I didn't know my way around that Home Depot, and I used to work at a Home Depot, so I know my way around Home Depot. I just couldn't find the PVC section in this Home Depot. So the brother asked me, what it is that I'm building. And so I started to tell him. And just like most men in a hardware store, he starts to tell me how I needed to do something else. And I was just like, you might be right, but I have it in my head, so I need to go follow through with what's in my head right now. He says, okay. So he takes me over to the PVC section or whatever, and we start pulling out the pipes, and he's cutting the pipes down to size or whatever. He's like, I'll be back. So he goes and he comes back with some coworkers, and he's like, tell them what you're doing. So I tell them. So I realized at this point, they're finding a lot of humor in this. So I go get my equipment and take it back to my apartment, and I, put the pieces together, and then I was like, oh shit, I need something else. So then it just became a regular visit. And so I would go, and then they would all show up, and they'd be like, so how's it going? And I tell them, and they'd be like, So then they started to get into it with me, and they'd be like, all right, let's see. So maybe this. And so then they started to have fun with me, because people just usually like, oh, I see PVC pipe, and I'm only going to use this PVC pipe for plumbing or whatever it is or whatever. And so then it just became this really beautiful type of, that didn't work. Let me show me a picture of where are you at right now in the process. Okay, so maybe try this. Get the whole thing built finally or whatever. The day for testing comes. I put my mattress on this frame that I built, and it collapsed. It didn't work. I wasn't disappointed. I was just like, shit, what did I do wrong? I knew it was some way that I could do this. Fast forward to Brazil, 20 years later. Where I live in the interior, they have marketplaces or whatever. There's marketplaces here, but this particular marketplace, when they shut everything down at night and the vendors take their things off the table, they have these like makeshift tables. The makeshift tables are, they have like PVC, or they have, like other piping, metal piping or whatever. But that's to hold the blanket or whatever piece of wood on the table. They have the rope, and then it's knotted, and so that it makes like these little square grids that form the support for whatever's going to sit on it. The first time I saw it after they broke down the Mercado one night, I looked at it and I was like, that's what I did wrong. I didn't knot my ropes, in little diagrams like they do here, and so my weight wasn't evenly distributed on the little frame that I built. So when I see that now, I just always give a nod, and I'm like, see, ancestor shit. Like this is what I needed to be taught in school or whatever, right? I probably could have gone online and looked on YouTube or something and figured it out, but that takes all the fun out of it. But to see the answer to so many things, like I internally know, like ancestrally know, like making shoes and making pipes and things like that, like no one taught me. It was just like certain things come back to you if you start to play and tinker long enough. But you still have people here who, I can go to my friend's island where he grew up, and like his dad is one of the guys that weaves the baskets that you can still find in the marketplace here or whatever, right? The clay pots and the clay trays and the clay things that they use in ceremonies and things like that are still made by hand on people in the islands, or just in different quilombos or whatever. So I call my mom, I tell her, I was like, yo, these are my people. And my mom says, I always knew you would find your tribe one day. That shit brought me to tears, and it's gonna make me cry right now thinking about it, because when I tell people I'm not the normal American, they don't understand that. And so to hear my mom acknowledge and say that I knew that you would find your tribe one day, like really hit home. So I get very annoyed when people talk about Brazil from a very surface level place, or um, claim to know about like the people and the culture, and they've never done anything or existed in this space outside of like curated ticketed events and the urban life in the city, and they've never actually done anything themselves to identify with the actual culture, not the conditioning of the people, but the culture of the Afro, the indigenous, the African things that people still use, like the basket weaving and things of that nature. Like, there's such a gap. There's such a wealth of knowledge outside of the beach and the beautiful bodies, and just literally walking by the craftsmanship, right? The plaster. Where I live in the interior, I love watching. One of the favorite things I have is watching. I love people watching. Here in the city, one of my favorite pastimes is people watching at the beach, watching people get up and exercise every morning, because I feel like it's the dumbest thing ever. And it's not, I'm not watching because of the beautiful bodies. I'm just like, people are really exerting all that energy, running up and down all day, every day, or on a treadmill, like exerting the energy and not getting anything done. Yes, it's for your health, it's for your benefit and your physical fitness. And I'm just like, yo, but like at the same time, you have people who need their houses built, their farms plowed, and like, it's just funny to me. However, in the interior, one of my favorite things is to get up in the morning and get coffee and go sit outside and watch the men work on the property that I'm at, right? And not just work. The level of master craftsmanship is top fucking tier. There's nothing sexier to me than watching what it's not blue collar men. Blue collar men the world over is like maybe a surface worker or a mechanic or something like that. I'm talking about like the guys who are like laying the cobblestone or mixing the gravel out of the river and making a fence, or you know, like that level of like genuine craftsmanship that you cannot find in the United States without spending an arm and a leg. And typically they're good at more than just one little thing or whatever, right? Because the guys that I would get up and they, you know, he'd go and get the bucket. I'm getting turned on just talking about this. He'd go and get the bucket, he'd get the gravel, and he's mixing the gravel, and either he's putting it on a fence or he's doing something, would be the same one that might later on go climb the tree and get me you know, like what do you call it? Coconut, or you know, whatever fruit is fruiting at that point in time. Yeah, that's sexy. That to see that, and that's my Brazilian experience. People could talk about Brazil all they want to, but I said this before in another video. You don't know peace and you don't know healing until you've been able to sit by a fresh stream of running water and have men who, in between them working and doing something, stop to bring you fresh fruit that they just pulled off a tree. That's the level of sexy. That is the level of healing that I am trying to remain in. That is my Brazilian experience, not this other shit. So I kind of just look at everybody in side eye when they talk about the other things, and I'm just like, yeah, my Brazilian experience is something that many will not be able to experience. But at the same time, I believe that we're going to get woo-woo. Frequency. We attract what we are. I've lived a very wild and feral life in the United States. And so I have organically had this experience, am able to have these experiences, and didn't go looking for this experience, right? I didn't pay for it. I'm not on a resort or anything like that. I attract these type of experiences into my life. And unfortunately, I have made the mistake of inviting people into my magical world who then turn around and want to sell my magical fucking world as their actual experience, and they never would have had that fucking experience if it wasn't for fucking me, right? And so I pretty much have just kind of like gone back into hermit mode and just have my moments by myself. That's transparency. But again, I'm able to do that as a digital nomad. And for those of you who have been telling half-truths and omitting how you actually make the bulk of your income, but don't tell others, you, in my book, are not a freedom fighter. You do not practice sovereignty. You are operating in a scarcity mindset because there are so many of our people who want to really know how to make a living online, but can't, because instead of someone actually saying, this is what I do and this is how I do it, you want to sell them on how to make money online, as opposed to telling the truth about how you actually make money online. Two totally different things. Teaching someone how to make money online is not providing a digital downloadable book about how to make money online. It's like, if you're currently lucky enough to be able to make some type of income by tech or digitally or whatever, switch your game up and start thinking about retainers as opposed to charging people one-offs or billing people. Figure out how you can package your services and offer it to potential clients as a retainer to set yourself up for a little bit more security or whatever, right? How did you get your first client? Can you verify? Did you really get a first client or whatever? Like, there's so, like, why do our own people like that? Like, why are we like that? And I don't mean like crabs in a barrel kind of shit or whatever. Like, but why do your own people like that? Because there's enough fuckery happening in the world to us, towards us, for people who don't look like us. We don't need us treating each other like others have treated us, right? Gatekeeping, hoarding knowledge, lying by omission, not being transparent about where our money is coming from, like all the things. And I'm saying this because I'm not trying to go, I mean, I could talk forever, because I literally have spent 20 years of my life teaching people how to use technology. From go right now, spend $10. The best $10 that you can spend in your life is going to register your own name. If you are talking about being an influencer or a digital nomad and you haven't even fucking registered your own domain name, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why not? Why haven't you, right? Make it make sense. So that's the first thing that you really need to go do. Register your kids' names, or register. I mean, when I mean register, I don't mean go get LLC or whatever, right? Do you have a website that is tied to you as a brand, as a name? It costs less than $10. It's been $10. I've been telling people this since 2006. Register your domain, register your name. Go register your name, go register your name. And as I'm saying this right now, I bet some motherfuckers still will not go register their name. Go to GoDaddy.com, Hostinger, HostGator, DomainNames.com. Pick your name, JaneDoe.com. You may not know what to do with it. Just go start there, right? Your brand is not the people who follow you on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. Because when and if that shit goes down, how are people going to find you? Very first step, register your name, whatever your name may be. Because then the next thing that you can do is start using your professional email address in your name, which makes a difference. Instead of saying, email me at janedoe@gmail, you can say, oh, you can contact me at email@janedoe.com. It matters. It makes a difference it's the difference between the clients who are going to pay you on retainer and the clients who are going to pay you crumbs that will not allow for you to be able to afford to make the transition out of the United States. Yes, that starts to change the more you've established a reputation and things of that nature. So, what are some of the other things that I've taught? Simple things people take for granted. WordPress, right? Someone can know how to do all the tricks and all the fucking things on social media, but don't know how to use WordPress. This matters because clients, people who have businesses and can make money. Hi, thank you for my skin. I'll come back. I have skincare. Why does this only come up sometime? See, and I don't have a problem asking for help. I don't know how to get comments to come back up. It like shows and then it disappears, but I promise I'll try to respond even to the assholes who have something negative to say or whatever. Skincare. Someone just said something about skincare. So let me get back to WordPress. The clients that can afford to pay you not only to get out of the United States, but to stay out of the United States, that aren't going to fucking breadcrumb you, that aren't going to, cause you to be having to run around all the time. Because I'm sure you've all seen the stories of like the influencer who talks about, oh, I live in Bali and I did this and that. And then the next thing you know, like their YouTube channel is ghost. They just disappear. People run out of fucking money all the time. These influencers or whatever who really aren't making money on the side and, fucking lying and omitting things or whatever, they run out of money all the time. I get nervous because I only have one client right now. Like if I did something to piss them off or if they went under, I would be asked out. It makes me nervous to have just one. Like my recommendation is to never have just one income stream or whatever, right? I'm old. I've gotten lazy. I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't really want to work no more. How about that? I mean, and I have it great. My setup is great, but 2-3 more clients to make sure, like if something happens to one, that I'm okay with 2. I don't have that set up right now or whatever. Again, this is me being honest and this is me being transparent because most people are fucking lying. Like most people are fucking lying, but I don't have that. So if you can come up with multiple income streams, but my point is my longest, my best, my most consistent, my most flexible clients are those who need people to help them manage their website. Businesses and companies who hire social media influencers and managers have an online presence and websites, or a website at the very least, an online store or some type of online presence. And if they have an online store, that online store needs to be managed. A small business owner, a large enterprise, they are not. How do y'all think products get their descriptions, their labels, their pictures? Like people don't even think about this shit. Someone is taking the picture and uploading it to a back-end system or to a website, writing a description for that product, giving that product a name, or like this shit doesn't magically happen. And I don't even shop online. I hate shopping. I hate online shopping. So many of y'all say, I don't know how to make any money online, but y'all spend so much fucking money and time online, whether it's just putting shit in your cart and never buying it because it makes you feel better or whatever, but you never stop and think, how does this shit get on the website? How do I find it? How you find it is called SEO, search engine optimization. That's how you find it. So just because someone can even maybe be writing descriptions and uploading an image to a website for a business does not mean that that thing is actually optimized. So then what happens is a company that actually has money and a budget, they hire someone to write the product descriptions, they hire someone to find the pictures, they hire someone then to change the language and tickle and play with the language and the blog post so that it's SEO, search engine optimized, so that it's the first thing that shows up if you are looking for black panties. If you went to Google right now and you typed in black panties, what is the first thing that you see? It's going to either be an ad, meaning that's not organic search engine traffic. That is a company that has paid Google or whatever. I'm just going to talk about Google because they're the big dogs. That has paid Google to show up at the top of the search results. Now there's AI that is a whole different conversation. There's AI that's a whole different conversation or whatever, not good or bad, but AI search results also show up. The next thing that might show up, I could talk about this forever. The next thing that might show up is a post or an article or something from like maybe a magazine like Vogue or Cosmopolitan or whatever, because they've written a whole article or did a whole blog post about the best black panties. So news publication, media publications then are considered the first authority. Ads are not considered authority sources. They're paid ads. They're paying to be shown at the top of the search result, at the top of the fold. That's the moneymaker. Whatever it is that someone's doing, if someone says at the top of the fold, that means whatever someone's going to see at the top of your mobile device, because most people shop from their mobile device. We know this because people like me who are true digital nomads and know what the fuck we're talking about, we put stats on the back end side that is able to allow us to look and see where customers are coming from, where they're coming from in the country, where they're coming from in the state, what type of device they're coming to, what browser are they using. VPNs are making things more challenging, but that's a whole different conversation. Whatever. And so these are all the things that I'm learning when people think that I'm not doing anything or whatever. So back to the black panties. At the top of the fold is the moneymaker. Media authorities are considered the top authority. But what y'all don't realize is that if Vogue is at the top of a search result for black panties and you go and you read the article about the best 5 places to buy black panties online, most people think that's just because. No, Vogue is getting paid. Vogue is getting paid by affiliate links to talk about black fucking panties. They don't care about black panties. They don't care that you're looking for black panties. So then they hire someone like people that I know. I have a friend that writes things like that. A company will hire her to write travel or blog posts or whatever. And then they insert links back to whatever store. So if Vogue writes an article about black panties and one of the number one place, like number one, it'll be an article that will sound beautiful, that will sound honest and transparent about black panties. That link is going to take you to maybe like a store like Calvin Klein online store. But they're going to say, well, we recommend these black panties because the cotton, the stitching, the whatever, the wash and blah, 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 blah. But no, if you click on that link, even if you don't buy anything, it doesn't matter. Vogue still gets paid. They get paid per click, not per purchase. And then what happens is, even if you don't buy anything, even if you don't put anything in your shopping cart, they track that affiliate link for a certain or a set amount of time. No matter what device you're on, it could be 30 days, 45 days, 90 days, whatever that agreement is. So even if you go back at any point in time within that time frame that they set and purchase black panties because you went to it from Vogue, which then took you to Calvin Klein, somebody's going to get some coins. This is how shit works nowadays, right? So that's the second thing that might come up. I'm really curious, please. And then it's going to depend on where you are. If I type in black panties right now, what I see here in Brazil is going to be different than what someone that may be in Tallahassee, Florida might see. What someone in Tallahassee, Florida might see is going to be different than the person that's in Colorado or whatever, right? It's also going to depend, it's just going to depend. But I promise you, all of these stores and ad agencies and companies and people like me are 10 steps ahead of whatever it is you think that you're fucking doing or you're avoiding or that you're outsmarting or working around or whatever, right? People like myself, people who are more versed than I am, way more versed, that are truly deeply into SEO, do shit that y'all could never imagine. People get paid to do these things. So if you look at a website and you think that it's just a website or that it's just one person that's managing the products and the product descriptions and the titles for a website, no, if it's a big company, they have a whole content management strategy, digital online team. The digital online team works with the editorial team. It is a circus. It's an orchestra. So back to, how do you get out of the fucking United States and make money online? Stop fucking listening to influencers who then are telling you the only way that you can do this is by making money through ads on YouTube, or I don't have no followers. I don't have any followers. It cracks me up. Sometimes I'll see these people with like 1 million followers online or whatever, right? They don't have any newsletter, email list. They don't have, like, other than social media, that is the only way that they're making any money. I've seen influencers get their account hacked or stolen. There goes their income. And that's why you see, oh, my backup or my second account is this or blah, 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 that or whatever. A lot of them aren't telling you they're making money as a caretaker. They're getting Social Security. A lot of them are, I've seen a lot of them say, oh, I had a medical emergency. And now can you help me with my GoFundMe? And I'm just like, you spend 12 hours a day, every single day online for clout. And you really don't have an income. Like, y'all gotta stop listening to all of these people who aren't really telling you how to build anything substantial or foundational or with longevity, right? Because I said this on another video, if you want to travel to another country as a digital nomad, some of these people who say they are influencers or digital nomads, yes, they are in other countries as influencers and maybe acting as a digital nomad, but it does not mean that they are in that country as on a digital nomad visa, which allows for people to stay in a country longer than it would allow someone to stay on other types of visas. I know people here in Brazil who, when you hear someone say, oh, I gotta fly back to the States or whatever, because whatever, they'll give you all kind of fucking reasons and excuses. But what they're really telling you more often than not is they've worn out their 90-day stay as a tourist on their tourist visa. You have to leave the country and then you can come back. And for Brazil, I can't speak on other places or whatever. You can't just go hop over to Colombia or Mexico for a day and come back. Here, it's a rolling, like 180 days, I believe it is. Don't quote me on that. But it's not like I just got to step foot out for a couple of days. The max you can stay on a tourist visa is 30 days unless you get an extension, 90 days or whatever. Yes, you can overstay your visa or whatever, and there's some small fees. There's all of these little things or whatever, but y'all be sitting there listening to people tell you that they're a digital nomad or whatever, but then they got to hop around all the time, or they can only stay in their apartment for 30 days or 90 days, and then they got to leave it again and then go back to another country or to that shit. I'm too old for that shit. Look, and you're talking to like a serial couch surfing person here. I don't want to be doing that shit all the time. I don't want to be on a 19, 20-hour flight back to the United States all the time. I need I'm not big on stability, but at this point, I need a certain level of stability. And all the shit that's happening in the world right now, I need to know that I'm at least gonna be good until a thing or whatever, right? Brazil's digital nomad visa is for 1 year, 365 days, 1 year, with the opportunity to extend it. Other countries have not, don't ask me because that ain't my work. Other countries have longer digital nomad visas. So maybe Bali, I don't know, don't quote me. I'll have to look this up because I'm just rambling today. Some offer 2 years, right? So once you, and see, here's the thing, getting your visa for people like me, if you're somebody like me who doesn't like adulting and don't like dealing with paperwork, once you go through all of that shit and you spent the money. So here's, again, transparency. I'm gonna tell y'all the fucking truth. These are the things that people don't tell you. How do you get your visa? Outside of what kind of visa you get, how much does it cost you to get your visa? You can do it on your own. You can pay the fees on your own, do the mailing, do the notarization, all the things, go to the police federal, all the things on your own. You can start it in the United States and finish it here, start it here, finish. You can do all of that on your own and save yourself a shit ton of money. However, if you are like me, like Courtney, I don't like adulting. I don't like paperwork. Certain things I'm not going to do. I knew the only way that I was going to get a long-term visa here was to hire someone. Now, I did not know anyone when I came here. I didn't do all this research. I didn't have anyone hold my hand. I arrived right before they started requesting or requiring U.S. citizens to have a visa to enter Brazil. I intentionally came right before because I didn't want to have to figure out the e-visa. People say it's simple. I know me. Even though it's funny because people laugh. My friends know, like when I'm like, look, I need for you to do this for me, because they're like, you're the tech person. I am the tech person. Doesn't mean like I like dealing with shit or whatever, because whole different conversation. There's just certain things I'm not going to do. So I arrived before a visa was required. And then I was like, well, I'll figure it out when I get here. I knew that I had 30 days. If it didn't work out in 30 days, I would just go somewhere else or whatever, right? But I got faith. So I get here. I didn't think about it. And then I ended up running into an American woman at the store. And we ended up hitting it off. She introduced me to an expat, an immigrant who has been here for several different years, who then introduced me to a young man here who helps immigrants, expats. I'm saying slash because people are ignorant and want to argue over semantics. Doesn't matter to me if this is just your first time hearing this. And he helps people with their visas. I was looking at an attorney. The attorney that I found is someone that specifically, so here's the thing, you can find someone that can assist you with your visa, but it doesn't, just because there's an attorney or someone that can help you with your visa doesn't mean that they can help you with the type of visa that you want or need or whatever, or even recommend an alternative or whatever. These are the things that people don't talk about, right? So you might think that you're going to come on a student visa, but if you're working with someone that's knowledgeable enough, they may see that there's a different visa for you to get that might be better for you, that might save you more money, or that might allow for you to be in the country longer than you were initially expecting to have to stay or whatever, right? So there's the student visa. Just because someone helps, and I have witnessed this with my own eyes, watching two people. Someone came here on a visa, helped other people get a visa, help them get student visas, because that's the kind of visa that they ended up getting before they got residency or whatever. Residency, a visa, residency, and citizenship are all different things. All different things. And there's a benefit, of pros and cons to all of those things. Just because you have a visa does not make you a resident. because you're a resident or you get residency does not make you give you citizenship or whatever, right? You can get a visa, citizenship, residency, property, student, digital nomad. You can come on a work visa, all these different things. How much it's going to cost and who you should work with is something that y'all need to stop relying on just listening to someone for social media. Now, I'm not trying to hurt nobody's pocketbook, but if someone arrived in Brazil as a tourist on a tourist visa and then got a student visa and then ended up getting residency and then at some point decided that they're going to start helping other people get their visa, does not mean that they know what they're supposed to be doing in helping someone that's coming on a work visa or a student visa. They can help you with the basics, but ask them, do you know or have you ever helped anyone get a digital nomad visa? Hopefully they will tell you the truth, right? Hopefully they will tell you the truth. But here's my thing, even if they say no, they never have, you then have the choice to decide on if you still want to work with that person. So for me, the attorney that I was looking at and getting ready to pay $2,000, which is like the minimum, it's like the going rate for visas or these days or whatever, right? They had at least claimed, but the way they spoke, I dug through their website, spent many hours like really researching them or whatever, right? They had experience helping people with getting a digital nomad visa, not just student visas, not just real estate visas. You'll find a lot of attorneys and services that will help people, that have helped many people get visas and residency and citizenship through real estate, but that's still completely different than a profile who are here as digital nomads or whatever, right? And so it's going to cost you a lot more money. Ask the right questions. Ask for backup and evidence or whatever, right? My biggest thing with the attorney that I was going to go with was they didn't have anyone on their team that spoke English, except the main guy that does like their YouTube videos. But there was no guarantee that I was going to be able to work with the person that spoke English. And at that point, I was just like, this is already overwhelming for me. I don't want to have to use a translator. And I just really wanted someone that spoke English. That was really my biggest thing. And then I lucked out, but I was going to go ahead and pay for it. I was just like, they'll get it done. They handled everything. It's like, here's my thing. If I'm paying you $2,000, don't make me fucking think. How much are you going to do? Are you just going to tell me what I need to do? That's the other thing you have to think about. People are out here charging people only to tell them what they need to do. Someone charging you to tell you what you need to do is different than someone doing it for you. Totally different things. Totally different things. So I didn't want someone telling me what to do. Even though it was going to save me from having to dig all over the internet, I didn't want someone telling me what I needed to do. And then I lucked out, got introduced to a young man here who highly recommended and assisted people with their visas. And I like to brag and say I'm probably the most difficult client that he had. I'm pretty sure I'm the first one that he has assisted with a digital nomad visa. But we had this discussion up front about, I was like, look, there's certain things that I'm just not going to do or whatever, right? Like, I didn't get my fingerprints done in the United States. Most people have their fingerprints, all of their paperwork and all of that done before they arrive, especially if they know that they're coming to try to stay long term. I didn't do that. I just had my passport. Like, I didn't have my birth certificate. I didn't have anything. And so I was clear and upfront with him. I was like, these are the things that I don't have. So if you're going to ask me for it, we're going to have to get it. Getting fingerprints done here was not a simple task because Separate governments, separate countries require a certain paper. You can't find the paper here. You got to you have to have somebody in the United States buy the paper. He had to have someone in the United States find the paper, buy the paper, bring the paper on a plane to Brazil so that we could take the paperwork to the place here for me to get my fingerprints, then to send it to the FBI in the United States, right? For the background check, and then they give the okay and all the things or whatever, right? So it's all these little things that people don't want to talk about. And so someone now is selling you on the idea that they can help you get your visa, but they've only done it from the perspective of they showed up with all of their paperwork, you know, upon arrival, they had already had their background check done. They're not familiar with the process of the digital nomad. They don't even really know what a digital nomad is. They're not they're going to waste your time, and they could potentially waste your money. So ask people these questions, and people watching this right now or later, and you're out there telling people you can do something. Don't waste people's time and money, because you may have come leisurely. Right now, people are really trying to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of their life, and not only their life, but how they're going to take care of their kids and make sure that their kids are protected. Stop fucking around with people's livelihoods. That part. If nothing else, I don't care how low your moral integrity is, you're fucking around with people's livelihoods because you came for pleasure. People are trying to get the fuck out of certain places right now or whatever, right? So don't be messing around with people's time and money. If you don't know how to do something, say up front, I've never done it before, but I'm willing to learn. But I promise you at the same time, I'm not going to waste your time and money. I lucked out. My dude did not waste my time and money. To this day, we're still cool or whatever, right? And so because someone gave me my first chance in building a website for them, and that has turned into something that has allowed me to be sitting here right now talking my big shit. I'm willing to allow someone, anyone will tell you, I'm great for teaching someone something or whatever, but when you start to show that you're not a person of integrity, and I'm not a micromanager, you fuck up, I'm gonna ask you, can you do it? If you say yes, I'm gonna hand it off to you, have it to me by a certain time. I'm not gonna keep checking in with you. I'm gonna check in when it's due. If it's not done within the time frame that you said that you can do it, and you didn't say anything to me, fuck you, I'm not dealing with you anymore. If I ask you, can you do something? If someone says they need money, I say, okay, I have some work, can you do it? And they say no, I was like, do you want me to teach you? If they say yes, I'm going to teach you. But again, don't fuck over my time and don't fuck over my money, because typically what happens is that I'm giving someone work for something that a client is already paying me for or whatever, right? So if you're fucking around, now you're jeopardizing my security because you got some fuck ass excuse about why you couldn't do something, and then didn't even have the nerves to tell me that you were going to be running behind. Things happen, I get it. I've given so many talks about this or whatever, but people love to waste people's time. So please stop doing that. Visas. All of these are things that you need to ask or whatever, right? So I am here on a digital nomad visa for 1 year. After you go through all of this process and getting all of this paperwork and you spending all this money, back to the dollar amount. So $2,000 is the minimum that I've seen people charge for assistance to help someone get their visa. Did I plan for that? No. Did I budget for that? Did I budget for that? No. Because who would Courtney be if she actually planned and budgeted for some shit or whatever, right? I didn't have a plan. And so luckily I just happened to have like some money sitting somewhere else that I didn't even have money sitting somewhere else for something. It wasn't even a savings. It literally, the universe is like, this bitch ain't thought none of this through or whatever. And she done came this far, and we know that she too old to be trying to figure shit out like she used to or whatever. So let me just increase this limit of this thing over here and then be able to, figure it out. That is the only reason that I was able to pay. I didn't come prepared. I didn't know how much it was going to cost me to get a long-term visa here until I got here. And I was like, yo, shit, a good chunk of money. Like, that's American rent or whatever, right? But it got done. He did an excellent job. I recommend him to everyone. His name is Leo. I recommend it back to people getting hustled. So, side story and aside, people getting hustled. When I got here, I have not been hustled on my visa or whatever. I don't know how many other people have been hustled on their visa. When I got here, I met someone who had been living here for quite some time, so long to the point where she has her residency, I believe. Residency means that you're good, right? And so, but she also helps people get their visa, their student visa. She came in and ended up getting her student visa or whatever. And so she offered to assist me with me getting my visa. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing a student visa because I ain't going to class. And even though people who get their student visa here typically only have to go to class a couple of hours a day, twice a week, that's not a lot. I don't commit. Like, I know that I'm not going to even want to do that. Like, I'm just not going to do it. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm doing a digital nomad visa. And she was like, I can help you, with that too. And I was like, nah, I like you as a friend, but, and I don't have, and I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those people that says, oh, I'm not going to do business with friends. I'm not that kind of person. The reason why I said no to her is because there were some other things. It wasn't anything shady or anything like that. I just was just like, no, I'm going to go with this person over here or whatever. Cool, bet, no problem. So then when I had someone else that went, and so then when someone I knew from the States was coming, I introduced the two of them, not to do business, but there was some personality things that were similar. So I introduced them to get to know each other or whatever. So when the conversation of visa came up, the woman that lives here offered to assist my friend at the time to help her with her visa. And I was like, it's up to you. This is who I'm going with. You do what you want to do. I've introduced you to her. I've introduced you to him. And him came to me recommended through other expats. So do what you want to do. She went with the woman. That didn't work out. Look, to this day, I don't know what the fuck happened. They had a falling out, and I don't even know if it's, from my understanding, it was a one-side falling out. One person didn't follow up and do what they said that they were supposed to do and what they got paid for. Me, I'm always the person that's just like, look, how do we resolve this? Conflict resolution. I tried to reach out to the person that was accused of not doing what they said that they were going to do. That person didn't respond for whatever reason. I don't know. I attempted to figure things out and resolve things between the two of them. Never happened. They never spoke again, as far as I know. And one left feeling salty. The other one, I don't know. My point in all of this being is, so I ended up, and now I'm not friends with either one of them, right? So not because of that. My friend that came here from the States or whatever, we were cool and we were friends, but then she started showing tendencies that was like the other one. And I was like, no wonder I felt I was moved to introduce the two of you. People get hustled and their visas work too, okay? So I didn't have that experience. Luckily, I didn't. So these are also things to consider. I'm sure if you went online, you will find a lot of people who have paid people to help them with their visa. These are things to think about. What else about the visa process? Getting it renewed, like just considering that cost. Like if you don't want to be going back and forth and on the flight, what kind of visa are you going to come here on, right? Like, yes, 30 days, extend it to 90, but by the time you're here 90 days, for me, it's just like get some type of visa so you don't have to think about it for another year or whatever. That would just be that would be my opinion. Back to the digital nomad visas. A digital nomad visa is still different than a work visa. Here as a digital nomad, I cannot work in Brazil for myself or for a Brazilian company. I am not allowed to do that. I had to show that I earn income from companies in the United States that says I can work here, right? That type of visa does not allow for me to do business in this country. So that is the other thing to consider when you are listening and dealing with people who are claiming to be specialists and experts and things of that nature, right? What kind of visa are they on? And are they earning Brazilian dollars? Are they on a visa that allows for them to work in the country of Brazil? Having a work visa does not mean that you can work for a Brazilian company or start a business in Brazil. A work visa means you work for a company that's either based in the United States or based in Brazil or whatever, and they are sponsoring you as an employee who gets benefits from that company as an employee from that company that's allowing you to be in this country as someone who is on a work visa. A work visa is not the same as a digital nomad visa. Two completely different things. People don't say work visa because it doesn't sound as sexy as digital nomad visa, right? And they want you to think that they're kind of like independent, but they're really on a work visa. Different. Work visa, independent contractors, independent work from a country outside of Brazil. Typically, we pay our own insurance coverage, independent, right? So I don't have the safeties of unemployment, Social Security, health insurance, dental, medical, all the whatever insurances or whatever, right? True digital nomads typically don't have that unless we pay for it out of our pocket on our own. We're responsible for all the things ourselves. So even though a country is saying, yes, I pay them to be there, they are not my employer. They're not our employers. We are not under their umbrella as employees or whatever, right? Work visa. I'm emphasizing this because also a lot of people don't think out of the box. There are a lot of you who are still allowed to work online right now. I think it's some fuckery that a lot of the companies that allow you to work from home, no problem, won't allow you to work outside of the country. And I've heard some countries have even gone so far as to tell people that, they check like your VPN and things like that to make sure that you're not working out of the country. There are some people who work out of the country and the company they work for don't know it. There's workarounds or whatever, but that's none of my business. And I'm not even mad at them because I just think this is some fuckery that you work for a company and you work or whatever, right? Lost connection, I'm back. So if you do work for a company and you work online and you've never even thought about asking, go ask. Literally, my first online opportunity to work from home before I even thought about being self-employed was, I don't need to be sitting here under these fluorescent lights around people I don't like every day. I can do this from home. And I literally asked my manager, can I do this from home? She said, no, I went up higher. It's like, keep asking until you get a yes. Or be strategic in proposition. Like you might even offer to take a pay cut. If you work online from home and you want to leave the country and the company has never offered to say, hey, have you thought about, going to live in another country, especially if it's for your mental health or whatever it is, sell yourself, pitch yourself, come up to why it would be a benefit for them to allow you to work work in another country. Think outside the box, y'all. Y'all sit there like, when I tell people, just because people gave them their freedom papers and their papers that say that they are, I need to get ready to go to the grocery store. So when people say, you know, you got your freedom papers and you got your walking papers and all those things or whatever, just because somebody told you that you're free doesn't mean that your mind is free. And enough people, again, this is why I get so pissed off about people telling half truths about how they make money, is because there's just so many different ways to make sure that you're not like me out here free willy in it, to be able to travel to a different country just because and it doesn't mean that your employer is trying to keep you trapped. They just may not have thought about it. So you might say, let's say you're making $5,000 a month or whatever, right? You're making $5,000 a month working from home online, and your company hasn't extended an offer to you to leave the country and for you to work and for you to leave the country on a work visa. You might say to them, I'll take a pay cut. I will, if I can keep my medical benefits, if I can keep my, 401k or whatever all the things is, I don't even know that stuff anymore. Your short-term, long-term disability benefits and things like that. As long as I can keep those things that some of you allow, and I'm going to say this, allow you to stay stuck. So many people don't go out on their own because they're like, oh, I'm going to need medical insurance. And what am I going to do about medical insurance? When I left corporate America over 20 years ago now, the first question that people would ask me is, but what are you going to do about medical insurance? And I hadn't thought about it. And I was like, I don't know. But it's funny, like, and I'm sure there's some other people who are true digital nomads will vouch to this, or people who just don't have insurance. It's like, when I had medical insurance, I was always at the fucking doctor. Like, I was at the doctor at least once a month for some type of checkup or something or whatever. Mm-mm. Your body knows. Like I say, what are you trying to go for? I always say this, insurance or assurance, right? Because a lot of times y'all be at these jobs that cause you more stress than not having the insurance. So you're forced to be stuck in this loop for needing medical insurance because you're stressed out at a place. I get it. I was there, but needing to go to the doctor for random things right now, like I have a lump in my neck, right? I'm sure if I went to the doctor, they'd probably tell me I had cancer or something, but I'm perfectly fine. Like, I feel healthy. Aesthetically, it might bother some people or whatever and make them wonder. Physically, I feel great. I don't have any problems or whatever. So there's no reason for me to open a can of worms. And it's funny though, because some people would be like, well, what about your life or whatever? My thing is like, as long as I don't suffer, I'm good. I've had a great life. I'm 51. And if I were to die tomorrow, I can say that I've had, what do we have going on over here? I can say that I've had a pretty fantastic life. Okay, let me change the subject. So I want to talk about hair and skin products. So, I mean, genetically, yes, I've been blessed with great skin. And that's the other thing that pisses me off. I have, in the United States, I didn't pay attention to my skin. I didn't take care of my skin. I didn't go and get facials and shit like that, because while people out here talking about they're self-employed and not really self-employed and have money coming in from other places, going to get facials and shit, I'm spending my extra $50 on software and technology and things of that nature or whatever, right? So I never took care of my skin other than some like lotion and things of that nature. And, but no facials. I can't even tell you the last time that I had a facial. I think I've had one facial in my entire life in the United States or whatever. I just didn't have a lot of extra money for all of the shit that people be talking about. And it really pisses me off, especially for women who be running around here claiming that they are like flawless and living the soft life as a digital nomad and selling a lifestyle that's not really true and authentic or whatever to other women, and setting them up for like this expectation that it's like easy or whatever, right? I'm no massages, no, I didn't get a manicure pedicure for like 7 fucking years, a very long time, because I just didn't have the extra money for it. And when I say I didn't have the extra money for it, it was like when you're trying to build your business and keep up with technology and software, because people don't talk about the cost. The amount of money that I spend for the things that I need to be able to make a living is equivalent to maybe somebody's car payment, right? So I have to pay for domain names, I pay for hosting, I pay for editing tools and software, like all of those little things adds up. So you get to a point where you're like, what's more important, the thing that's going to bring me revenue or me going to get my nails done? That's where priorities start to matter, right? So unfortunately, again, people do talk about being digital nomads and being influencers and things of that nature. They don't talk about the cost involved for getting set up. And it's a lot more than it used to be than when I started. And I don't say because of inflation or anything like that. Like when I started back in the day, you buy the software and the software is yours. Like now everything is in the cloud. You got to buy a subscription. The thing that pisses me off most now, especially for those who are trying, it's a setup, y'all. Listen, don't waste time. Now, if you go to a website and you need to sign up for a platform that's going to help you launch your online business or something like that, it's very rare nowadays that they allow you to do it monthly. Most places, you'll go there and you've all seen it where it says the cost, the pricing annually, and you have to pay for it by the year. If you're just starting out, a lot of people don't have $300 to drop on, because you're not just doing it on one platform. You're doing it on this platform and that platform and so on and so forth. And someone may be watching this, and I was thinking about this morning. I was like, who is my audience? My audience, I'm gonna tell you who my audience is. My audience are not the foundational Black folks, right? My audience, I'm not talking to the people or trying to convince the people or sell the people who are already in a shit ton of debt, who are worried about appearances and things of that nature, who think that the only way you can do something is by going to get a business loan or you have a loan or anything like that, right? I've pretty much moved through this world for the last 20 years without being in any debt. I make a lot less money than people think that I earn because I don't have debt like people have, right? No car payments, none of that shit. I didn't even have a credit card up until last year, the year before last year or whatever, right? And so a lot of people will say, well, I'll just go get a grant, or I'm not a grant type of person. I don't believe in grants. I don't believe in that nonprofit shit and all it. That's not me. So if you come from the mentality or from the world of nonprofits and business loans and all of that stuff, no, I'm like boots on the ground. And I'm going to, what's the word that they use? I'm going to not scrape by, but bootstrap. Like I bootstrapped everything that I've accomplished, right? No business loans or any of that. So I would make a little money. I might buy some software. And then with that software, I can do more for another client. And so then I get another client. Like I'm always, not so much anymore. I was always putting money back into my business. So while people are running around doing all the little cutesy shit and trying to have the soft life, they didn't have that term for it back then or whatever, right? I was putting money back into my little fledgling business. And I never had an agency or any, I was always just independent on my own. And so I know this is a lot, but I'm just really inviting y'all to, one, stop lying to yourself and to other people, trying to come off as more together than you actually have it together, or that you're bigger than you actually have, and that you don't really have an agency and it's just you clacking away at night, right? A lot of people do side jobs and side gigs and things of that nature. These are not the things that they tell you, but they turn around and show you their little beautiful life in a different country or whatever. They're not telling you that they're up at like 4 o'clock in the morning doing some task for, like a one-off job. I'm not knocking it. What I'm saying is that I know, because I have been there. I've never lied about it, but I know what it takes to be able to do certain things without accumulating more debt, which then keeps you trapped even more. And the longer y'all sit back and wait and fuck around and spend your money on dumb shit, start learning the different areas of tech, all the different areas. Technology is not just Instagram, TikTok, and social media. It is so many different things, right? And figuring it out. Get your domain. Learn WordPress. WordPress ain't going nowhere. WordPress did have a little interesting spat. Open source. Learn any type of open source technology. Learn how to create workflows for company. Learn how to do business workflows. People underestimate workflows. Like, you don't have to work for a company forever, but if a company is just like they've merged with someone, or they're just getting into tech or whatever, and they don't really want to hire someone, they just don't have time. They may not want to hire someone long term. They just need someone to get them set up, to teach them how to do it and maintain it themselves. If you are good at strategy and looking at the big picture and working backwards, you can do this. They have a fancy name for it now. I don't know. They call it, I can't think of the name. But there's people that literally, that's all they do for companies as independent people, is help them go in and set up a workflow. What is your pain point? Can I help them with their pain point? And then training the manager, training the employees to do certain things or whatever, right? I don't really like managing websites. Like, that's something that I used to do. I get burned out. But I'm great at training staff or managers how to do that themselves. And that is something that does not require you to be there for, right? You can set up your camera. You don't even have to have a camera to teach people how to do certain things in their business and manage online business systems. You just got to have a screen recorder and a microphone, and you take them through it step by step. There's so many different ways that you can earn money online outside of the things that people typically talk about. So if someone is telling you to go buy a package to learn how, what are they teaching you how to do the thing? What in the package are they teaching you? What are they teaching you in the package? Not just giving you ideas about random fucking things or whatever, right? So yes, I would say right now, online stores are a big thing. Small business owners are overwhelmed. Not all of them. They don't care about their Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or whatever. Like, they just are trying to get more people to their website or whatever, or in their store. If you can show them ways that they can do that, or take time off of their hands so that they can do that, think about ways that you can do that. Managing people's content. I'm trying to think. I mean, being a virtual assistant, right? You all right now can go to, it used to be called Odesk. I can't think of the name of it right now. And go look at virtual jobs. And a lot of times, yes, you're going to find a lot of competition now from people in the United States, US dollars. I'm saying the United States because the US dollar is still strong, even though it fluctuates and things like that when it comes to exchange rates or whatever, but it's still stronger than you're going to get anywhere else or whatever, right? And a lot of those companies hire people in other countries because they pay them a lot less. So you will find an American business might have a full staff of 5 employees in another country. And all those people may not even be in the same country. They may have a video editor from Nigeria. They may have a content creator or a ghostwriter that's in the Philippines or someone in Mexico. They may have all these people who specialize in these small things in different countries, because one, you'll typically find that people in other countries, they like good at their shit and they specialize in one thing and they're really good at it, but because they pay them so much less. Y'all in the United States over there talking about, I don't know how to make no money, but you want to charge somebody $50, $25, or $20 an hour to edit some video, and you do a half-ass job and you're not consistent, and because your dog got sick, now you missed the deadline. You're competing with people who are sitting in little internet cafes who do twice as good a job as you do, but are only charging $7 an hour. Y'all need to get your heads out of your asses and stop being so entitled to certain shit while still saying at the same time you want to get out of the United States, because you can still charge a US company doing the same thing, maybe not $50 an hour, and maybe not $7 an hour, or maybe not $20 an hour, but maybe $15. And the reason why you can position yourself in being able to do that is because Americans gonna American. They gonna always think about somebody or being worried about somebody, except for the smart business owners, right? Who already know just because you hire somebody in another country does not mean that you're gonna get scammed. It does not mean that the quality of work is going to be less. But those businesses and those people and those business owners who can write you a check for you to live in another country will still believe or be worried about dealing with people in other countries. They worry about getting ripped off, or maybe they just don't want to deal with the language barrier part of it or whatever, right? You find you a US company that's gonna, pay you somewhere in the middle from what they're gonna pay somebody in the Philippines or whatever. Reassure them that you are going to get the work done. Stop thinking I need to make as much as I'm going to make in living in the United States, because if you are really trying to live somewhere else, you don't need to make $50 an hour. Y'all are sitting there going in circles and I think some of it is just that you make an excuse. It sounds cute to say, I want to get out of here and I want to actually get out of here and I want to get out of here and I really want to get out of here, but you don't actually make the lifestyle changes to actually fucking get out of somewhere or whatever, right? And so complaining becomes an addiction, like any other addiction. That's my transparency for the day. So, technology, that is the easiest way. Like, it has been, I've been saying this forever. It's not too late, because there are so many gaps right now. People got on the influencer social media bandwagon, and as many have seen, and many social media influencers have talked about losing their brands, right? You went through that whole diversity thing or whatever, right? And so many influencers lost their income, they lost campaigns, they lost brand sponsorship or whatever, and then they had to pivot and come up with some other kind of thing or whatever. I'm talking about real businesses, right? Real business. And I think there's a gap. I think there's an opportunity. If I had discipline and if I had structure, if I knew how to adult, I would start an agency. I would start a digital agency in the United States, specifically to assist Americans who want to live abroad and need a consistent income. And I would position it to companies who also supported that initiative, and then in turn would specifically hire our digital agency to help people have secure income outside of the United States or whatever, right? Um, so many of you are excellent writers. Um, I have friends that are full-time travel writers. I know people who are ghostwriters. I know people who don't do anything except write descriptions and for products. I'm trying to think of like all of the little odd. I don't have a lot of friends that work online, but I mean, I've met people that do. Those are the kind of online, the people that actually make money online and don't have to worry, that really don't have to worry, that are just living their lives in communities in other countries, are people, programmers, engineers, coders who sit and just write code and shit all day. The geeks, like, they're not living a flashy life. Like, they're comfortable, they're quiet, they're minding their business. Every online job is not the shit that you see on social media. There are so many different types of jobs that you can do online. Stop relying on 2, 3, 4, 5 sources on social media. If you're using AI right now, outside of going to type in best black panties, go type in, go to Google chat, whatever. If anybody feels any kind of way about AI, go to my website, Sex, Death, Power, and read my take. And I don't give a fuck what you say about AI or whatever, right? But go to AI right now, or go to Google, or go to Reddit and ask it to give you 50 jobs that you can do working online or remotely. That is outside of the well-known popular. Even type in obscure. What are some jobs that I can do online as an independent contractor that most people don't think about? And you're going to see stuff on there that you probably find very interesting. I had a partner once, and his job online wasn't, I don't recommend this job to anybody because it's very bad for your mental health, but his job was to, when your video gets flagged for violence or whatever, there are companies, digital agent like Google and things like that, that literally have people that watch videos before they approve it or whatever to see if it goes against community standards. I'm sure a lot of that is automated and stuff like that now or whatever. But there's so many, and I can go on with this forever. I'm trying to think. What's the oddest online job that I've had? I think probably one of the oddest online things I've done for someone, organizing someone's digital files, right? If you're good at keeping your like Google Docs or wherever you keep your online digital files and things like that, if you're good at keeping that organized or organizing it and cleaning it up for someone, there's people that get paid. People talk about home organizers or feng shui. There's people that get paid to organize people's digital life. That is something that you can do. Reach out to people. Reach out to your local business owner or your local professional that you know and be like, are you a little overwhelmed, or you got anxiety about all the open, unorganized files on your computer and your phone? And I guarantee you, most people will say, hell yes. How about you let me organize it for you, and then you pay me this much, and then you give me a referral or a testimony. Okay, bet. They don't really have anything to lose, especially if they trust you, you're not really going through anything. You'd be surprised. Here's the thing. I think most people, I was listening to this sister the other day, but I'll talk about that later on. I think most people underestimate how trustworthy people are, especially with people with money. The people that I have come across in all of my life, in all of my travels by myself as a solo woman, that are the most concerned about people not being trustworthy are people who don't have any money and could never afford me anyway. People that I have met that have money, that have hired me, and that can afford me have never worried about handing over a password, a credit card, or information to help them get their lives in order and straight. Because they're busy making money and not making money for capitalist reasons or whatever. Like sometimes people, it's just the joy of doing business. Some people just really love to do business. Some people love negotiating, and buy the byproduct of that is money. Y'all sit around and listen to people when people say money is evil and that people who make good money are evil. That is a lie. Some people just do it for the hard on. I love strategy. I love a good fight. I love a good sparring partner. A lot of times the byproduct of that is income. Not everybody is working because they're just doing it for the money. Some people love the rise and the energy of like doing business and negotiating. Everybody don't need to understand that, but because that's not you and you don't understand that does not make somebody else evil, right? So I'm saying all of that to say, stop thinking that everyone is, nobody's going to give me their password. Oh, I wouldn't give nobody my password. I wouldn't let nobody look at that ain't you. This business opportunity idea ain't for you. Think of something else. Go find somebody else to listen to, right? But if you have that mentality, that will keep you broke. That will keep you stuck. That will keep you tied to a job that you really don't like, while at the same time saying that you want to get you and your family out of the United States, or you just want to be able to travel before you die, or do something before you retire and your knees are really too bad. Think outside the box. What is driving you crazy right now? Are you just avoiding it? Can you do it? Have you solved a problem for yourself recently that you can now turn around and offer to someone else? Okay, I'm really gone this time. How long? Oh, 2 hours. Perfect. This is great.